Hi guys. So it's been a while since I have read a chapter book or have posted any of recorded readings. So I thought today I would go ahead and we would start a new chapter book. So this will be done in 3 recordings. So I thought since it is April and you know, April flowers bring May showers, and we're starting to get some thunderstorms now and going into the summer. So I thought we would read The Magic School Bus Electric Storm. So I hope you guys like it. So it says Introduction. Hi, my name is Keisha. I am one of the kids in Miss Frizzle's class. Perhaps you have heard of Miss Frizzle. Sometimes we just call her the Frizz. She is a terrific teacher, but strange. One of her favorite subjects is science, and she knows everything about it. She takes us on a lot of field trips in the Magic School Bus. Believe me, it's not called magic for nothing. We never know what's going to happen when we get on that bus. Miss Frizzle likes to surprise us, but we can usually tell when she is planning on a special lesson. We just look at what she's wearing. One day, Miss Frizzle came to school wearing this outfit. One look at those lightning bolts, and I knew we were going to get a big charge out of our next field trip. Let me tell you what happened. Chapter 1. I sure wish it would rain, Phoebe said. You said it. The grass in the schoolyard could definitely use a drink, said Dorothy Ann. It looks so dry. Our whole class was outside. We were working on the chart we had been keeping as part of our study unit on weather. When we started a few weeks earlier, the grass was lush and green. Now it was so brown and crunchy, just looking at it made me thirsty. I like sunny weather, but this is too much of a good thing, said Ralphie. He took off his baseball cap and wiped his sweaty forehead. How long has it been since the last time it rained, Keisha? He asked. I looked at her weather chart. 23 days and counting, I told him. There's not a cloud in the sky again today. Not to mention that it's hot, Wanda said, fanning her face. All the plants and trees are really in trouble. When are we going to get a little rain around here? Excellent question, Miss Frizzle said. Today we happen to be going to the perfect place to get some answers. Is everyone ready for our trip to visit the meteorologist at Channel 6 Weather Center? Yes, we all answered. All of us except Arnold, that is. I'm never ready for the Frizz's field trips, he groaned. Okay, maybe he had a point. Field trips with Miss Frizzle on the Magic School Bus do tend to be filled with surprises. We can never seem to get where we are going without some kind of crazy detour. And then here it's a little Q note right here. And it says, What is weather? By Keisha. Weather is the condition of the air at a particular time and place. The weather can be dry or humid, windy or calm, hot or cold, sunny or cloudy. But you know what? It looked like this trip might be different. We all piled into the bus, and 10 minutes later, Miss Frizzle pulled up into the parking lot of the Channel 6 news station. We actually made it there without anything out of the ordinary happening. A normal field trip, Tim said as we got off the bus. Now that is unusual. The Channel 6 news station was a brick building that stood on top of a hill. 2 huge antennas stuck up from the roof. Not that we spent much time looking at the outside of the news station. We were more interested in checking out all the cool weather equipment inside. Let's breeze on in and see the professionals at work, said Carlos. Carlos, we all groaned. Follow me, future meteorologist, Miss Frizzle said. We headed for the entrance. Before we could get inside, the door to the news station banged open. A young man stormed out, waving a video cassette. How can they say I'm not qualified to be a weather forecaster? He asked. Me, Charlie, Nimbius? I said we were going to have thunderstorms, and the studio executives just laughed at me. And then we have another cute note now. A word for Arnold. A meteorologist is a scientist who studies and predicts the weather. Thunderstorms? We all stared up at the cloudless blue sky. I wouldn't have minded some rain, but the only stormy thing in sight was Charlie Nimbus's face. Thunderstorms do seem kind of unlikely, said Wanda. Charlie Nimbus didn't give any sign that he'd heard her. My hair was a little frizzier than usual, he said. Except for that, my camera test was perfect. I wore my lucky tie and everything. Mr. Nimbus, there's more to being a weather forecaster than just looking good on camera, DA said. Charlie stared at her blankly. There is? I held up our class weather chart, which I had brought along on our field trip. You have to keep track of the clouds, temperature, and wind direction. Lots of other stuff, too, I said. Shouldn't you know that already, Mr. Nimbus? Phoebe added, I mean, you're a professional meteorologist, right? Charlie gave a sheepish smile. I dropped out of meteorology class when I had the chance to star in a toothpaste commercial, he said, showing 2 rows of sparkling white teeth. I guess I still have a few things to learn about weather, huh? Miss Frizzle's face lit up like a 100-watt bulb. You're in luck, Mr. Nimbus, she said. Back on the bus, everyone. We're going to take chances. Get atmospheric and learn about the weather. Now I stared longingly at the Channel 6 news station. We were so close. The Frizz just herded us back onto the bus and got behind the wheel. Charlie Nimbus sat next to Liz on the seat behind Miss Frizzle. The first thing he did was check his reflection in the rearview mirror. My hair is frizzing up even more, he said. I'm sure we're going to have thunderstorms. My hair always does this when it's going to rain. Had I heard right? Charlie Nimbus was predicting weather based on his hair? That didn't sound like a very scientific approach to me. Besides, the sky was still totally clear. But, do you know what? Miss Frizzle actually agreed with him. Thunder and lightning certainly are in the air, Mr. Nimbus, she said, and we have front row seats for the pre-storm show. Arnold gulped. I don't like the sound of that. He wasn't the only one. Every single kid on the Magic School Bus looked nervous, but did that stop the Frizz? No way. He wasn't the... Oh. Miss Frizzle hit the gas and the Magic School Bus screeched out of the parking lot. The next thing we knew, the front of the bus tilted up, it grew airplane wings, and shot into the air over Channel 6 news station. So much for a normal field trip, said Tim. We're off. Chapter 2. The Magic School Bus zoomed through the air. Everything around us started to look bigger. Then I realized we were the ones changing. The bus, with us inside, was getting tinier by the second. Before long, we were so small that particles of dust looked like huge boulders floating around us. I never saw anything like this in my meteorology class, said Charlie. What's happening? Don't worry, Mr. Nimbus. You'll get used to the Frizz's field trips, Wanda told him. We did. Speak for yourself, Arnold said. Couldn't we just watch one of Mr. Nimbus's toothpaste commercials and forget all about thunder and lightning? Charlie flashed those sparkling white teeth again. But not everyone noticed. Phoebe was fanning herself, and D.A. seemed to be staring off into space. I wasn't surprised to see a book about weather and her science notebooks on her lap. D.A. loves science. Miss Frizzle, D.A. said, I have a question. You just told us thunder and lightning are in the air. Well, I sure don't see them. When it comes to weather, you don't always have to see it to believe it, the Frizz told her. Thunderstorms start with something you can't see, even though it's in the air all around us. Charlie turned to show us his curly locks of hair. What about my frizzing hair? That's something you can see, he insisted. Huh? I said. Between Charlie and Miss Frizzle, I was totally confused. Thunderstorms don't start with hair, Mr. Nimbus. They start with water vapor. Water vapor is in the air, Miss Frizzle explained. It's something you can feel, but you can't see. So water vapor is what makes the air feel so sticky, said D.A. Well, she wrote information in her notebook. Charlie watched over her shoulder. And right here's another cue note. It says, When is water a gas? By Tim. Water exists in the air as an invisible gas called water vapor. The sun rays heat liquid water in rivers, lakes, and oceans. When liquid water gets hot enough, it evaporates. That means it turns into water vapor that rises and blends to the air. That's what's making my hair frizz up, he asked. Absolutely, Miss Frizzle told him. She gave a tug to her own hair, which was even frizzier than usual. Trust me, that's very frizzy. Water vapor in the air makes for stickier, sweatier, frizzier conditions. I see what you mean, said Phoebe, as she lifted her leg to pull away from the vinyl bus seat with a wet sucking sound. Humid air is the reason we're in this sticky situation. And here's another cue card information note. It's not just moist air, it's humidity by Carlos. We refer to the amount of water vapor in the air as humidity. The more water vapor there is, the more humid the air is. The air was starting to feel more humid and hotter, but I still didn't understand what that had to do with thunderstorm. Class, we're very lucky. We have all the ingredients for an electric storm. It's a simple recipe, said the Frizz. Start with humid air and add lots of heat from the sun. Charlie turned his face into the bright rays that shone through the bus windows. Phew, he wiped off his forehead. The heat from the sun reminds me of the big lights they used when they filmed my commercial. I'm starting to sweat. He wasn't the only one. We were all sweating like crazy. That's the power of the sun, Miss Frizzle explained. The sun is making the air hotter, too, and when air heats up, it gets lighter and rises. So you're saying hot air is on the move? Carlos said with a laugh. Another cue note from DA's notebook. The sun gives us energy. Energy is what makes things move or change. The sun provides our planet with tremendous amounts of energy. The sun's heat and light make Earth and the air around it heat up. And when the sun isn't out, things cool down. Things changes cause many different kinds of weather. And then this one is from the desk of Miss Frizzle. Atoms on the rise. Atoms are like tiny building blocks that are far too small to see. Everything we know is made up of atoms, including hot air. Heat makes atoms move faster. They bounce further apart, so there are fewer atoms in the same amount of air. Lighter objects rise over heavier ones, so when air heats up, it rises above cooler, heavier air. Pretty cool, huh? It's no joke that hot air gets around just fine, and without engine power, Miss Frizzle said. Let's see how it's done. Then Miss Frizzle did something I could not believe. She turned off the engine of the magic school bus while we were in mid-air. Miss Frizzle could be so unpredictable. I was used to that, but this seemed absolutely dangerous. I rushed to the front of the bus. I wanted to stop her, but it was too late. I gaped out the window at the hulking dust particles on the air all around the magic school bus. Our bus was so small, even tiny dust looked huge. We were so high up, it would be a long way to fall. This isn't a recipe for a thunderstorm. It's a recipe for a disaster, Carlos yelled. I shut my eyes and waited for the magic school bus to plummet to the ground. Then I heard Charlie say, "Hey, we're still rising." Here's another cue card. It says, "Going up," and this one is by Phoebe. The sun heats the earth and makes the air near the surface hot. When the air rises, it makes warm gusts of air called updrafts. Thanks to updrafts, water vapor that evaporates from lakes and oceans travels to the sky where it forms clouds. My eyes popped open again. He was right. The bus wasn't falling. It kept on rising. I guess being full of hot air is one way of moving up in the world, or at least in that atmosphere, said Carlos. But we're moving up all right, said Ralphie, but he looked around curiously. Where are the thunderclouds? I still wondered about that myself. So far, we hadn't seen any dark, churning storm clouds. In fact, we hadn't seen any clouds at all. Maybe I can get a better look, said Charlie. I had to hand it to him. He sure was eager to learn what made thunderstorms happen. Maybe a little too eager. Charlie climbed up on his seat and leaned away. and leaned way out the window. It didn't exactly look safe, especially since the air was rising faster each minute. Mr. Nimbus, be careful, Wanda said. Wow, he exclaimed. I thought maybe he had spotted a thundercloud. Then I realized that wasn't it at all. Charlie was looking at his reflection in that side mirror outside the bus. He leaned even further out the window. He even let go of the window to rub at a spot on the mirror. Hold on, I yelled. You're going to... I didn't have a chance to finish. At that very moment, a sudden burst of rising hair lifted Charlie the rest of the way out of the window. Help! He shouted as he rose upward. We never blew people off at my old school, said Phoebe. What could we do? We all watched helplessly as Charlie landed on the enormous particle of dust outside the bus. The dust was lifted higher and higher. The warm air carried the dust, and Charlie straight up, 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 and away. Good thing he wasn't allergic to dust, right? All right, chapter 3. We've got to help him, said Tim. Miss Frizzle turned the key to the engine. The engine chugged and sputtered, but didn't start. Great, we've got engine trouble, Arnold groaned. We'll never catch up to him. I looked up. The particle of dust with Charlie on it was just a tiny speck far above us. It rose farther away from us every second. Then we heard a loud clink and a low growl. Yes, Miss Frizzle crowed as the engine finally started. Not to worry, class, she assured us. Don't forget, warm air is carrying us up too, and now we've got turbo power. The Frizz hit the gas and the magic school bus flew upward and faster. We caught up to Charlie in a flash. He was still clinging onto the dust particle, and he looked terrified. But you know what? I noticed a definite spark of curiosity in his eyes too. The Frizz brought the magic school bus in for a landing on the dust, and Charlie scrambled back on board. No clouds in sight yet, he reported, but updrafts really gave this dust a lift. I noticed something else too, he went on. It looked like Charlie was finally starting to pay attention. There's a little chill in the... At that moment, the dust particle we were on gave a sudden lurch upward. Oh, I cried. What's happening? Arnold asked. The Frizz grinned from ear to ear. How marvelous, class. We just hit a cold front, she announced, just in case you should all shut your windows. So here is another cue note. Cold fronts are pushy by Keisha. A front is a boundary between two masses of air that have different temperatures and humidity. Since cold air is heavier than warm air, it pushes warm air up and out of the way. Hearing that didn't make me feel any better. Now the dust particle with us on it zoomed upward even faster. The wind is coming from the northwest, I said, glancing at the notation I had made on our weather chart. Is that what brought the cold air our way? You get the drift, Keisha, Miss Frizzle told me. When that cold front pushes into our warm air, it makes the warm air move even faster. That can cause storm clouds and rain to form. But Miss Frizzle, I began, as I was tired of hearing about storms without being able to see them. I guess I wasn't the only one, because everyone else chimed in. Where are the thunderclouds? At that exact moment, something amazing happened. Droplets of water appeared in the air nearby. No, scratch that. Those droplets weren't just near us. One wet bubble formed right around the magic school bus. I sure was glad the windows were shut. That water appeared out of thin air, said Ralphie, like magic. Not magic, Ralphie. Just the miracles of science in action, Miss Frizzle said. Class, we are now witnessing the formation of a cloud. This is a cloud? Charlie's mouth dropped open. I thought it was some kind of gigantic water balloon that was holding us prisoner. For once I understood exactly what he was talking about. All I saw was water. Water everywhere. Water droplets may seem big when you're so tiny as we are, Miss Frizzle explained. But when you're a little bigger, the Frizz pressed a button on the dashboard and the magic school bus grew larger. Pop! The bus burst out of one of the water droplets. Now that we were bigger, I could see millions of tiny water droplets suspended in the air. in the air around us. They formed a light gray haze that completely surrounded us. Wow, this is a cloud, Wanda said, and we're right in the middle of it. And here's another cue card. It's a Cloud by D.A. The higher you travel in the atmosphere, the cooler the air is. Warm air rises, but becomes cooler as it moves away from the sun-heated Earth. It continues to rise because it is still warmer than the surrounding air. Cooler air makes water vapor cool down, too. Eventually, it cools enough to condense into a liquid. Tiny water droplets group together to make, you guessed it, clouds. When you see a cloud, you're really looking at millions of water droplets. You bet. Miss Frizzle pulled a poster from the glove compartment and held it up. Let's see. Charlie looked out the bus windows, then stared at Miss Frizzle's chart. The cloud we are in is fluffy and round with a flat base, he said all of a sudden. He snapped his finger. It's a cumulus cloud, he announced. But cumulus clouds form in good weather, I said, not in thunderstorms. Clouds change all the time, Clash, just like the weather, Miss Frizzle told us, and this one is changing fast. More changes. We had already been carried up by the atmosphere on hot air and totally surrounded by the tiny water droplets of cloud. What could be next? Like it or not, we were about to find out. And here's another cue card. How tiny is that droplet? By Phoebe. Water droplets in clouds are 5 to 400 times smaller than the raindrops we see falling from the sky. They are tiny enough and light enough to be held aloft by warm air moving up in the atmosphere. When droplets of water become too big and heavy to be held, they fall as rain. All right, that's all we have today, guys. I hope you enjoyed chapters 1 through 3, and tune in to the next 2 readings, and we will learn more about the Magic School Bus Adventure and the electricity and storms and clouds and water and everything fun like that. Have a good day, guys.